6 most disturbing abandoned building encounters caught on camera by Chilling Scares.
Urbex Hill is one of the most popular urban exploration channels on YouTube, featuring raw footage from YouTuber Chris Hill's visits to a lot of the more extreme abandoned buildings in the US. From abandoned mental hospitals to decommissioned military facilities, Chris explores all of it, but specifically places that a lot of even the more extreme explorers wouldn't visit, at least not at night and alone like Chris always does. In January 2023, he uploaded footage of his visit to the now abandoned Paul Revere Elementary School in Cleveland. After almost a century of use, the school was permanently closed in 2015 due to declining enrollment numbers. Although there are allegedly plans to turn the abandoned building into a housing complex, as of 2024, Paul Revere Elementary is still abandoned and in terrible shape.
Interesting.
From the moment Chris walks inside, it's pretty clear that the place hasn't been used in years and has been severely damaged by the elements, vandals, and the passage of time. The bottom floors are all flooded, the walls are peeling, the structure doesn't seem too sound, and there's rust, random papers, books, and all kinds of debris lying everywhere. Throughout the video, you can see messages written in seemingly fresh chalk on some of the whiteboards, confirming that people have been in the building recently. This was actually Chris's second visit to Paul Revere Elementary. When he uploaded footage of his March 2022 visit to the school, several people in the comments mentioned they had either been students or teachers at the school and talked about how incredibly sad it was to see their beloved childhood school ruined by abandonment and lack of.
It really is. It's actually fairly interesting to see things like elementary schools, things, there are places of education, places of, generally you would argue, positivity, I think, right? And the enrichment of learning for children, just to see it in such a state. And it really is kind of just a time capsule. But places like, as much as urban exploration really interests me, it also doesn't come without its risks, not from just structural, up to including things like asbestos being present, things like, maybe some electronics are still active, he was saying the basement was flooded, but it also comes with trespassing concerns, with the omnipresent concern of what happens if you explore an abandoned facility, abandoned place, right? What happens if I were to, say, I don't know, explore a decommissioned military facility, which I would 100% do. I'd have to make sure I have, had every ability to do that. I would love to. I think that'd be really cool, actually, just abandoned or decommissioned military facility. But then again, I hear that those are still on government land, I think. They're actual, so I don't know enough about it. I'd be interested, but I don't know enough about it. What happens if you go and you find a body, right? Well, what happens? You're the only one to find that body. You're immediately going to be suspect. Sure, I guess you can call an anonymous tip. But if you're not supposed to be there and you run across a situation, say you run across some illicit activities, you run across a body, there's a number of ways that this can go south. And that's if you don't have somebody stalking around you in the building.
Maintenance. A little after 10 minutes into the exploration, you can hear some sort of ruffling sound and other strange noises coming from somewhere in the schoolhouse.
It's just so dilapidated. Well, and that's the other thing, right? You don't know if it's someone unknown or if it's another urban explorer.
Do you hear that?
That's definitely not something you want to turn around and see, because at that point you have entered another situation entirely. You have entered a situation in which there is confirmed someone there, and you have no idea what their intent is. You start to feel like a rat in a maze. You start to feel like you're the hunted and they're the hunter, right? Regardless of what they did. Band of Power Hunts myself. I could totally see that. It could be police.
As Chris turns a corner in the hallway, another person's flashlight can be seen shining down the hall. It looks to be just one person, who was likely either another urban explorer or a squatter. Still, at 1 a.m. in an abandoned building, it's obviously best to avoid drawing unwanted attention to yourself, especially when you don't know the other person's intentions, which is why Chris ultimately decided to run instead of making his presence known. Making sure to walk in the other direction to avoid running into anyone, he then heads to the library and explores the rest of the top floors. As he goes into the bathroom on the top floor, he has another encounter.
It's a little still, though. So obviously, turning a corner in an abandoned building and seeing that, right? That's definitely not going to be a bueno situation. But if I looking at it, it's not moving.
Somebody's in there. Scared the out of me.
Does someone, if that was in fact somebody trying to scare you off, would they not, make themselves loud? Would they not come at you? That one's weird.
At the far end of the bathroom, what appears to be a human silhouette can be seen standing completely motionless. After the initial shock of the encounter, Chris draws his gun and goes back inside to confront the man.
So he is armed. This is one of those things that is this is one of those I would have to ask like professionals. I would have to ask instructors and stuff in regards to, and even law enforcement, actually. I'd have to want to get their way in on this. Carrying guns in abandoned buildings, right? Like, if you are trespassing and you are carrying, doesn't it escalate any charge you may receive? I mean, obviously, it's safe. You don't know. It is safer. You don't know who you're going to find at 1 a.m. in an abandoned building that there's no police around, right? Or shouldn't be any police around. So it makes sense to have some sort of protection. But at the same time, if you're carrying, like, I don't know. The law on there, to me, is murky. And I definitely need to look into it. Not if it's a carry state. I'll have to look into it. Because if it's a carry state and this is allowed, that's interesting. Yeah, that's actually super interesting.
Hello?
Because if you are trespassing, doesn't it escalate it? To an abandoned building. Right, exactly. That's a trap. That's effectively a scarecrow.
Oh, it's a f***ing toy.
So, no, that's a point where you leave. Because that was set there with purpose. That, yeah, no. Because there's there's Urbex exploration, or sorry, Urbex stories about like tripwires and things, spiked logs that come from overhead. No, you are a rat in a maze. That is a certified leave moment because that is set with intent.
Oh my god, that scared the out of me.
As it turns out, the silhouette was actually a scary mannequin that somebody set up, probably to scare away visitors. What's most eerie is that even though we can't know for sure how long the mannequin had been standing there before the footage was shot, for some reason it fell forward just in time for Chris to see it, the most reasonable explanation being from the sound waves bouncing off the wall.
Okay.
Most people would have left as soon as they saw the mannequin, but Chris continued to explore the rest of the school, seemingly unmoved by the horrifying experience he just went through. Though not before clearing the entire rest of the bathroom.
Braver than I am. I don't know. It's not that I even have a self-preservation instinct. It's that I am outclassed at that point. Like we are like most dangerous game territory, right? I there is someone, and mostly someone, right? There is someone out there that has far more knowledge than I do, is able to set traps like this. He's very lucky that wasn't rigged or booby-trapped.
Sadly, some of the rooms in the school are filled with books, whiteboards, and other perfectly usable materials that could have been donated to another school before the building was abandoned. But nobody seemed to care enough to give them away before the school was abandoned.
I miss those projectors, dude. Those were the shit. Remember the little transparent sheets that people were able to teach with a Sharpie on? I miss those.
About half an hour into the visit, Chris climbs up to the roof, which in itself is pretty risky. Even if you don't care about getting caught by the cops, there's still a very high risk of the roof caving in, especially considering the state of the building when the footage was shot.
Right.
Fortunately, he was able to climb down safely, but that's when a strange noise could be heard coming from the other end of one of the hallways.
The safe is still here. I wonder what's in it.
Why would... Am I an idiot? Do schools actually have safes? What do they store in it? Is this open public information? I'm trying to figure out if that's part of the original building or not. That's... Yeah, no, like, what school would have a safe? Documentation, maybe? Student medical docs? Tests? Lol. I mean, it looks... I don't know. Does it look consistent with the surrounding environment? Like, there's clearly some sort of wear, tear, maybe even rust on it, right? Why? Why is there a safe here? Leave. You can see him. Okay, buddy,
as Chris explores one of the rooms, a strange howl can be heard in the distance, and as he raises his camera, you can clearly see a shadow moving behind the door at the far end of the room. By this point, it's pretty clear that not only are multiple other people in the building with him, but now he's possibly being stalked.
Oh, 100%. No, they know he's here. No, chat, they know he's here. The fact that they're probably just doing it to spook him off, or they're trying to see what he does. He is 100% being watched. Once again, rat in a maze.
Once again, Chris draws his gun and prepares for an encounter, but he doesn't find anyone in any of the rooms. After this, he admits he's ready to call it a night and decides to head home, but not before this final encounter.
This place is weird as hell. Oh, here it is.
Rick stares.
I remember the last time I explored it.
Nope, run. That is way too close.
Hello?
Dude, he has guts that I don't. I gotta give him props. I would not have engaged.
Hello?
Because it sounded like on his left, that up staircase, it sounds like it was from there.
What? Okay, I know I heard somebody coming down these stairs. I'm out.
As he struggles to find his way out of the school, the sound of footsteps can be clearly heard on the stairway directly above Chris's head. But after running up and calling out to see if he gets a response, nobody acknowledges him. Luckily, he was able to walk away unharmed and has continued to upload videos of his visits to abandoned places pretty frequently.
What a Chad, dude. The fact that he can have encounters like this, get out without nary a scratch, right? And then just continue to do stuff like this. What a Chad. A firearm student defense position. See, here's where Kip's a little strange. You know, I would know how to use a sword more than I would a firearm. As somebody, I mean, it's not like I'm not, you know, a buffoon, right? I don't know. I've debated on how you would carry both a firearm and a sword. I don't know how that would work. Probably right hip holster, left hip sheath for sword, maybe. I've been toying with this idea as an aesthetic. Oh, you see that, Chad? It's ghosts. Look at that.
His visits to abandoned places pretty frequently.
Look at that. Look at that. Look. It's clearly ghosts, right? This spooky. It's this little thing, and there was one before the stair thing, right? The little mist. It's ghosties.
The Proper People is an urban exploration channel owned by Brian and Michael, two friends who travel the world in search of abandoned buildings. For the past 10 years that their channel has been active, Brian and Michael have built up a reputation for being a trustworthy channel that only uploads genuine footage of their explorations.
That's cool.
In a niche of YouTube that's often plagued by cheap, fake footage from people trying to get their 15 minutes of fame, The Proper People has endured as one of the most reliable channels in the urbex space.
I respect that, though. I have a lot of respect for that. It would be very easy to say, go into a abandoned building and to say, paint 666 imagery, Aleister Crowley up, all of that, have some sort of modified pentagram with candles, right? That is so easy to stage. That is so easy to fake. So I like when there's accounts like this that have that credibility and accountability. Like it's just so different. I love it.
They gained their fame from explorations of genuinely cool places instead of faking creepy encounters or anything of the such. In 2016, they uploaded a video of their nighttime visit to the Jemison Center in Northport, Alabama, often referred to as Old Bryce Hospital. From 1939 to 1977, the Jemison Center housed hundreds of psychiatric patients and acquired a reputation for treating them pretty harshly. Often referred to as the creepiest building in Alabama, Old Bryce was closed in the late 70s and has since been reclaimed by nature and become a hotspot for urban explorers from all over the world. As Michael and Brian approach the location in their car, there doesn't seem to be anyone around, and after driving around the grounds for a while, the two YouTubers get out of their vehicle to begin exploring, settling on the basement as the first area to explore. After more than 4 decades of abandonment, the entire complex is almost completely destroyed, and while some of the walls are completely covered in all kinds of graffiti, some of them aren't even there anymore.
Is that a shit chair? Is that a porta chair? What happened on that chair? I just need to know, okay? Someone on VTuber Twitter is going to love the idea of this.
With the state of disrepair of the Jemison Center, there's always a chance that the structure could collapse on itself and trap Brian and Michael inside. But as they go up the stairs to explore the top floor, it becomes clear that an unsound structure is the least of their worries.
Whoa, look at that.
What pentagram is that? I mean, I don't think it's satanic in nature. It's hard to tell because there's 2 splotches. It's at the top of the stairs. I'm trying to determine. I don't think it's Crowley brand. I don't think it's. This reads as pagan because there's no modifications like Crowley made to it. I think this is just. I don't know. It's hard to tell. That plus that almost looking cross thing. I don't know. I'm curious what the intent behind it is. I mean, it's kind of like why we have the swastika is a bastardization of the manji, right? The symbol for peace. There's been the pentagram itself is a symbol that is balanced, right? Hence a star in a circle, right? Number of things that go into it design philosophy wise, but there's definitely differences between different practices, different things. I don't think this is satanic in nature, but I don't know the artist's intent behind it.
That an unsound structure is the least of their worries.
Whoa, look at this. Look at this staircase out here. Oh. There's somebody there.
No way.
Yes, see that light? They're out there. I swear on my life. Right there.
I mean, there was a light. I don't see anybody though. I'm also blind as a bat. We've seen it a number of times on stream. I've missed something right in front of my face and playing a game.
I hear him.
Should I say hello?
Yeah.
There's somebody out there.
I think there was a light.
Let's go
but
back
they're
to
in
the
the
car.
distance.
This way. If it's somebody wanting to talk to us.
Nobody's going to want to talk to you at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whenever this is. Nobody's going to want to talk to you. If there's police, I think Chats has the right idea. They'd probably identify themselves. No. You assume the worst.
Let's go to the car now.
Oh yeah.
As the camera pans to the window, the outline of a person holding up a light can be seen on the staircase on the opposite side of the building.
The fact that I have to like instant replay and Siri enhance zoom, right? I would never have noticed this.
Disturbingly, as soon as the uploaders turn off their light, the other person does the exact same thing, indicating they were watching and didn't want to be spotted. Chillingly, if you rewind the footage to when the YouTubers arrived at the top floor, you can clearly see a light outside the window frame, but it's
on the left side. Yeah, no, like, there's something there. I would have just dismissed it as a city light.
But it's unclear if the light was coming from the same person who was watching them. After calling out and receiving no response, Brian and Michael decide to go back to their car to avoid getting jumped or worse. It's hard to know what exactly the intentions of the other person were, but what's even more disturbing is the fact that there were no other cars in the area when they arrived and when they left, which means that whoever was there had arrived on foot and probably been there for a while.
Could have been a squatter, could have been somebody doing a illicit deal, could have been another urban explorer. You just don't know. Could have been a groundskeeper, maybe.
Ridgely Hospital was a women's psychiatric hospital in Lancaster, UK that operated for almost 100 years from 1916 to 2013.
You know, UK, we need to talk about your building structure, okay? Why does every building I see from obviously architecture, right? Obviously architectural styles of the eras, right? Why does every building that I look at look like the home of some sort of horror film? I kind of low-key love it, but at the same time, god damn.
Famous for being one of the first psychiatric hospitals in the UK that fought for the humane treatment of mentally ill patients, Ridgely Hospital housed thousands of patients and used modern treatment methods such as electroconvulsion therapy to help patients with a range of disorders, from severe depression to obsession to mania. In April 2022, YouTuber Exploring with Tom visited the site with 3 of his friends in the middle of the night. Throughout their visit, they were extremely loud and not aware of their surroundings, which is obviously not the best idea when exploring an abandoned building.
I mean, maybe it's under the assumption that like there's nobody else there, but just if you can get there at 3 a.m. in the dark, who's to say someone else can't get there at 3 in the dark? Who's to say someone else wasn't there at 3 a.m. in the dark?
Keep in mind that most of these abandoned buildings are still considered government property, which makes it illegal to trespass and explore the grounds. Still, if you disturb a hostile squatter's home by being obnoxiously loud, getting arrested would probably be the least of your worries.
Yes.
I'm not scared of you. Shaking. Yeah, well, I am scared of you.
I think someone is here now, to be honest with you. What the?
After hearing some strange noises coming from one of the rooms, the 4 explorers call out to see if there's anyone in the building, and this is where things get a little disturbing.
What? Be careful. Be careful. There's someone there. Someone there. Just like, see what it is. It might need help. Hello? Ooh. Hello? What? Go!
That turned real quick. Interesting.
Everyone okay? Everyone okay? Keep calm. Keep calm. Keep calm. Man! What the Don't hurry up! Get out! Get out! Get out!
That's the thing I don't know. Why would you approach? Why would you approach? Like that? Not even from a self-preservation instinct, from a logic. Like, what are you trying to achieve here? What is the end goal? What is the end result there? If you run across somebody who you don't know, who isn't identifying themselves as police, cops, officers, groundskeeper, etc., right? Why? I understand why they're screaming, because like they don't know what to do. Like, they're panicking. They are panicking. They're not maintaining calm in the situation. Like, it's making the situation worse. It's making anything such as tripping, anything that could probably result in injury. It makes it a little bit higher because they're elevated, they're escalated, they're panicking, right? Fight or flight is definitely kicked in. They don't have that training or cognizance to remain calm.
What you want?
Probably is just some guy, probably a squatter.
He's right there! What the?
As soon as one of the teenagers calls out, a man can be heard screaming from inside the room. Without thinking twice, Tom and his friends make a run for it back to their car, but disturbingly, the man isn't satisfied with just scaring them out of the building and ends up chasing them all the way to their car. It's unknown who the man was or what he wanted from them, but one of the theories that's been echoing in the comments is that he was probably a homeless person who got upset at the amount of noise Tom and his friends were making.
Probably.
It's probably not too pleasant to have 4 rowdy teenagers burst into the abandoned building you call your home and start yelling, laughing, and swearing. But
so from chat, don't turn your back in this situation. You have numbers, half watch the person, half take point on the exfil. I don't know. I don't know if that does it or not, because you're in unfamiliar territory, and he's clearly the opponent, I will say, right? The other party in this is clearly they're clearly aggravated, and they're pursuing you with really all due speed, right? Like, they are intent on getting to you. I don't know. That's a hard one, because it's not like you can just, like, back up slowly, keep an eye. I think that this is one of those that I think it depends on the situation. So you could also be armed then as well. Like, that's entirely possible. I think getting as much distance between that party and yourself is king in that situation, regardless of how that happens. That being said, I'm also not a professional on the subject.
still, it's good they were able to get away unharmed.
It'd be armed.
In 2006,
It's not that the drifter could be armed. It's that they could be they could be just deranged. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if he's going to haul off and smack you. You don't know if he's going to bring you to some weird basement chamber and carve you up. You just don't know. And panic sprinting can lead to aspiration trips. Oh, no, 100%, yeah. No, there is a better, calmer way to do that. The goal there is to get distance between you and the other person, though.
A 36-year-old man named Vincent Filya was living in the woods as a fugitive near Lugoff, South Carolina, after being accused of abusing his stepdaughter.
Dude.
In September of that same year, he saw a 14-year-old girl named Elizabeth Schoaf getting off the school bus and decided to abduct her.
These people just need to be culled from society. Like, there's no excuse at all. There's none.
Posing as a police officer, Filya arrested Schoaf on a supposed marijuana charge and led her to his hideout in the middle of the woods. For 10 days, Elizabeth was chained up and abused by Filya in the underground bunker beneath the hideout in what can only be described as a nightmare come true. Still, the girl was extremely resilient throughout the whole ordeal and came up with a plan to escape from the horrifying situation she found herself in. If she wanted to escape, Elizabeth knew that she had to get Vincent to like her. For several days, she pretended to be in love with Filya, and eventually the kidnapper lowered his guard, even unchaining her and allowing her to play games on his phone. One night, while Vincent was sleeping, the teenager got a hold of his phone and sent a text to her mom saying she was in a hole across the Charm Hill, that there was a bomb, and to call the police. As it was later revealed, Filya had planned to draw in as many people as possible to the bunker to detonate a bomb and take the lives of the responding officers. However, he never managed to carry out his plan. For just a few minutes later, the area was surrounded by helicopters and he was forced to surrender. To make a long story short, Elizabeth was able to move on with her life, and the monster named Vincent Filya spent the rest of his life in prison, where he died in 2021 in his cell.
Does that mean he's prior military from his coat, or is that just a coat he happened to have? I'm hoping he was not prior military.
In December 2023, a YouTuber named Big Banks visited the abandoned hideout where the terrifying crime took place.
I couldn't do that. Nope, I couldn't do it. No, I couldn't do it.
Immediately upon entering the house, the uploader finds something extremely disturbing.
I think this was the little girl's backpack that was left here. What a sad sight to see, knowing that happened.
A little girl's backpack can be seen on the floor outside the kitchen. Although it's impossible to confirm if it belonged to Elizabeth Schoaf, it is possible that it was planted there after the crime by somebody else. As he explores the living room, the uploader finds more creepy stuff, including a DVD of the horror movie The Strangers, a Halloween decoration next to one of the couches, a shank, a broken baseball bat, and a ripstick. Obviously,
but would he have this? Interesting. If it's abandoned, it makes me wonder if other people have been using this.
the fact that these items were left behind is much more disturbing when you consider the history of the house. It's heartbreaking to imagine that some of the toys lying around the floor possibly belonged to the girl that Vincent Filya had stolen. Throughout the rest of the house, several objects and pieces of furniture, including the bed in the main room, look like they were placed there much later than 2006. It's possible that the house was occupied by squatters, but because it was empty at the time the footage was shot, it's impossible to know what belonged to Filya, his common-law family, his victim, and the squatters.
That would smell awful. Thankfully,
after being reunited with her family in 2006, Elizabeth went on to live a fruitful life, and the man who committed the heinous crime against her paid the price for it.
I couldn't do it. I could do abandoned military institutions. I could do abandoned mental institutions even. Something like that I couldn't do. I couldn't even begin to go into a place like that. I am glad that she was able to live a good life after. No one should ever have to go through that. Nobody should ever have to suffer that. I have no sympathy for that man. None.
Holton Avenue is a notoriously creepy abandoned street in Cleveland, Ohio.
Bro, why is it always Ohio? Y'all in Ohio have a frogman cryptid. Why is it Ohio?
In 1913, the first Hungarian Baptist church was built on that street, eventually falling into disuse and being left abandoned like the rest of the buildings on that street. In April 2016, the body of a woman named Jessica Coleman was found there after she went missing, but unfortunately her attacker was never found. In July 2023, Chris Hill went to the location to record footage of the abandoned church, as well as the rest of the buildings on Holton Avenue.
I think I've seen the long cut of this.
From disturbing graffiti to broken glass and peeling walls, the church checks every box you would expect from a creepy, abandoned building. As he ventures into the basement, Chris finds signs that someone else had been inside the church, including an action figure of Melvin the giraffe from Madagascar that he mentions he doesn't remember seeing the last time he visited the location.
Where do you even get something like that anymore?
Knowing that he's often not alone during his explorations, Chris set up several cameras throughout the church, and about 10 minutes into the exploration, one of the cameras on the main floor captures something pretty creepy.
Wait.
That's weird.
Yeah.
What's upstairs?
Obviously, doors don't just randomly shut themselves, and as it wasn't particularly windy that night, it's clear that someone was in the church with Chris. But after looking around for a bit, he can't find anyone in the church and decides to head back outside to explore the rest of the buildings on Holton Avenue. If the church was in a messed up state, some of the houses are even worse, with most of them looking like they could collapse.
So is that the one? I think it was the one. Doesn't he like potentially disappear into the ceiling? Like from that room, isn't there like a little like duct or something above him? And he like, because he goes into the room, right? I think I've seen the long. I'm pretty sure I have seen the long cut of it actually. Yeah, because it's like there's nowhere he could have gone. So he potentially just like yeeted himself into the ceiling, like actually like in the ducts or at least above the ceiling, right?
At any second. Around half an hour into the visit, he decides to explore one of the most dilapidated houses on the block, and as he's in the basement, the exploration takes a scary turn.
It actually looks like it's just underneath the house. It's not really a basement.
Yeah.
Still creepy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're trapped. You're pigeonholed down there. Especially if somebody's that close. He's behind the drape, isn't it? You better know your way out. Where's your exit strategy?
Sorry. I didn't know nobody lived there.
You are very lucky that he was passive. You are very, very lucky. Because if he ran out of that at you, you probably would have gone down.
It smelled like I knew somebody was in there.
As he's exploring the basement, a sound can be heard coming from the ground floor, and when he goes back up to find out what it is, a person pulls back the curtain. Immediately apologizing, Chris runs back out to the street, and that's when he realizes that despite the horrible state of the supposedly abandoned house, there was actually someone living in there with electricity. Clearly most, if not all of the abandoned buildings on the block were housing people now who didn't want him there, something he never encountered on his first visit.
Yeah.
And with this newfound discovery, Chris called it a night.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it just seems like it was some sort of squatter. It just seems like somebody who didn't want to be found or somebody who was just chilling, right? I mean, like, thankfully, the situation didn't go a lot worse. But that is definitely a real fear, right? Just running into somebody who now you've disturbed their place, their residence, if you will.
In February 2020, urban explorer Ridham Ryder explored an abandoned house at an undisclosed location with his exploration partner Zay Clark. According to Ridham, the house used to belong to an old woman who had passed away. In complete contrast to most abandoned houses, most of the woman's possessions had been left untouched, indicating that the house had not yet fallen prey to looters and squatters who often take things that aren't theirs.
Yeah.
All throughout the house, the two explorers find everything from beautiful
Don't open that fridge. If you open that fridge, you will throw up.
tableware and silverware to ornately woven tapestries and a fully equipped bar. Based on the calendars they found in the house, the property hadn't been occupied since August 2018. Just a few minutes into the visit, Ridham and Zay find something incredibly sad and disturbing.
I've always been worried about something like this happening, and then it did. When we walked in here, we took a few steps in the door, and we saw this on the ground.
What is it? Oh, no.
Now, for those who can't figure that, figure out what that is a body stain.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you can see right there, there's a walker. So, unfortunately, it seems that the woman who had lived here had taken a bad fall, landed on the floor, and that's where she expired, unfortunately. It's extremely, extremely sad to us. It took us a good 20 minutes to decide what we're going to do here, and you know, despite it feeling weird, we figured we still need to tell the story because this is a good reminder to everybody that you need to check on your loved ones. It seemed this woman had passed and was laying here for God knows how long before she was found. So check in on your loved ones, guys.
Honestly, I like how he did it though. This is professional urbex, right? You go in and you can, I mean, you're not taking things, you're not disrupting things. Like he opened the spoon cabinet, right? But he didn't take anything. He's not destroying the property, he's not shifting things. Like this, and ultimately at the end of the day as well, he's being very professional and courteous about this, right? Not, you know, making some sort of spooky, here's my 15 minutes of YouTube fame, body found at place, oh whoa, right? Like that's a very professional way to handle that, and that sets them apart from so many, not just urban explorer YouTubers, but so many YouTubers above all, right? That is the separation, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Right in the middle of the hallway, a human body stain can be seen on the floor next to a walker, indicating that the old woman probably had a bad fall and couldn't get up. Sadly, she passed away and her body decomposed before anyone could save her, which is a terrifying way to die.
Yeah.
There appear to be signs that the woman's family members tried to sort through her things after she passed away, but overall, her various belongings are in perfectly good shape, including her bathroom supplies, which were still there at the time of the recording. It's hard to watch the footage without having conflicting feelings. Even though the house is beautiful and you can easily tell that the woman who lived there with her husband was a talented, outgoing person, it's incredibly sad to see how she met her end. Overall, the footage should serve as a reminder to check in on your loved ones every time you get the chance, because nobody deserves to pass away like that.
No.
Since 2020, Ridden with Ryder hasn't gone back to that location.
I'm actually okay with that location being undisclosed, or at least continuing to be undisclosed. That is just let it be. Just leave it be. And it's unfortunate that some people will definitely come in and try to take advantage of that situation, to try and take advantage of that. Yes, thankfully this is not a Logan Paul situation, you know, showing a body, right? But thank you, everyone, for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the spooky content. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Maybe I surprised you in some capacity. Wow, Kip, you could be insightful. Wow, okay. I don't know. I'm very curious. Urban exploration has always been something that's deeply interested me, but I personally don't do it. Very specifically because I don't know. I don't need to be in a situation that I can't get out of. And then trespassing also becomes a thing, right? Trespassing also becomes an issue. There becomes an issue with being ethical about it. Just because you visit someplace and try to be as respectful like that last clip did, not everyone else will be. And there's an amount of guilt and responsibility can come across. And coming across a body stain, right? I actually don't know what causes that. I don't know actually what caused that. I don't know if that's like sweat. I don't know what that is. I'd be very interested on a scientific explanation of why those happen. But yeah, hope you're enjoying the spooky content. See you in the next one.